Hey everyone, I'm Steven from Exponent, and I'm here to answer some questions that we've received from our community in the last month about their recruiting and career journeys. Our first question comes from a product manager based in Atlanta considering joining a new company.
Hey, Exponent. Love what you do. Thanks so much for all of your free resources. I've been a product manager for 3 years at a small startup, but an opportunity has come up to take a similar role at a direct competitor. The pay and benefits are a lot better, so I'm seriously considering this move. However, I am worried about how to talk about my current role without divulging too many secrets or confidential information that might affect my job in the future. Any advice that you have about making this move or applying to this role is greatly appreciated. Thanks so much.
So, this is a great question that comes up quite a bit. Usually, companies will want to hire other people who work in the industry who have kind of insider information about the industry. Generally, my advice is to not share competitive intelligence that's secret or proprietary to the company for a few reasons. One, this is most likely part of a contract that you've signed where the company does not want you to do this. And so it would be kind of violating the contract. Obviously, the ability to enforce that contract might not be so possible, but still, there's something about kind of adhering to that. Secondly, and more importantly, think about the perspective of the next company. If the next company that you're working for knows that you're a type of employee or a type of interviewee who spills company secrets and shares all this kind of juicy information to other companies, that might not look favorably on the company that you might want to join. And so it's sort of a principle of trust and making sure that you're being principled. And that usually shows in an interview. It applies to a variety of ways. It's not necessarily just competitive intelligence, but it also applies about sort of talking poorly about a company or an experience. It's very obvious, even when I interview candidates, when a person is talking about their previous company in such a negative way, sort of paints a negative picture of them as well. Of, hey, is this person maybe someone who likes to gossip or likes to spread information about people and other companies with malicious intent? So my recommendation is to refrain from sort of saying any specific information. Now, that said, I would recommend spending some time to share all of the industry knowledge that you have at a general level, demonstrate all the projects that you've done that might be similar to the company that you're working for. But again, not sharing those actual pieces of information, but just indicating that you would bring a lot of value, that you have a lot of industry expertise, that you're a really, really good fit for this company. Our second question comes from a product analyst based in San Francisco who's worried about getting pigeonholed into his job.
Hey Exponent, this is John. I've been working in product analytics for the last few years at big tech companies like Meta, and recently I've been transitioning my work into compliance analytics, and I'm just worried about pigeonholing myself into a new space. Curious about any tips or advice you can have about people who are pivoting into new careers. Thank you.
Hey, John. This is a really great question. In general, there's this kind of dimension in one's careers of sort of being expansive or being focused in your career. And over time, a lot of people get focused in their career, right? They're a product analyst that they want to work in security and compliance, for instance, or someone's a product manager who works specifically with LLMs that are used in healthcare. And that can be a really awesome advantage in terms of having the niche, the expertise, and kind of focusing on that. Um, and at the same time, it can be challenging to kind of get out of that little valley that you're in of focused on this specific topic. And so, my recommendation to you is to think a little bit more broadly about where you are in your career. Are you at a stage in your career where you want to kind of hone your focus? You sort of know what you want to do, you know that compliance is interesting to you, all of that kind of stuff, and you want to pursue that. Or are you at a stage of your career where you want to kind of play many hats? You want to try out many different things, maybe have a couple different jobs in different industries to figure out what you like best. There's no right answer, and there's sort of probably an intuitive answer that you have of, hey, I'm really excited about this industry. I want to build my career in this even further, or I'm not so sure. And the lucky thing is that you don't actually have to decide that now. It's more of a decision about noticing how you feel as you work in this role. So, yes, now you have a product analyst role that's in compliance. That's great. That's a great opportunity to test whether or not you like this role and you're excited about this role. And every month or so, just notice how you feel. Are you excited about this industry, or are you curious about other industries and want to play around with other industries? And over time, after a year, 2 years, 3 years into this role, you'll be able to determine, hey, I actually am really, really curious about other roles, and I don't want to keep working at this company because I do think it will pigeonhole me into this kind of category. Or, actually, I'm kind of comfortable staying here and all that kind of stuff too. So just following your intuition, noticing how you feel is my recommendation. And my last kind of thought on this is that things are much more reversible in career than people think. There are tons of people that have done crazy career pivots from completely different industries. And so this idea that you'll be pigeonholed if you'll stay in an industry for 10 years, yes, there's some aspects of that that might be true, but overall it's definitely possible to kind of break out of those molds. The world is changing, tech is always changing, and people have long career lives and can explore many different things. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, but just notice, yeah, are you feeling curious, or are you feeling kind of excited to deepen your work? Our next question comes from a product manager who's debating startups versus a larger company.
Hey guys, thanks for letting me submit a question. Um, what I'm curious to know is how does PMing at a large company like a FANG differ from PMing at a startup? Thanks.
So this is one of the most common questions that people get, and I think there's this kind of bifurcation in tech of, do you want to work at a startup, or do you want to work at a FANG, a big tech company, things like that. They're both great options. They both have pros and cons. I would say if I had to really hone down what the very specific difference is or differences are between those two, I would really hone it down into ownership and scope. So if you're someone who likes to have large impact, but likes to work with a large team and maybe is okay with process and things like that, big tech companies are awesome, right? I used to work on the Google homepage, and anytime I would change a button on that homepage, millions of people would look at it. It would be so exciting because I'd have so much like impact on the work that I did. And at the same time, to launch something like a small button on the Google homepage would take months. It would be very, very long cycle. So big impact, so large impact, but your scope is kind of small. You don't get to control that much, and you have to work with a lot of different people to make things happen. Startups are kind of the opposite. Huge scope. You can do whatever you want. You have tons of ownership, but the impact that you have um, is maybe not quite as large, right? Because you're not working with that many users in that case. And some startups are different, and hypergrowth startups are different, and all that kind of stuff too. But generally, you just have a lot more responsibilities. You're wearing a lot more hats at a startup, and that can be really exciting to people. Or it can be kind of overwhelming or discouraging if you try all these ideas out at a startup and you don't get kind of traction with them, because there's a lot more risk with this kind of stuff. Again, if you go back to the big company, less risk, more clear that you're going to have an impact. You can kind of make iterative progress, but again, you might not have as much kind of ownership over the project. So my thought to you is to just think, what are projects that you've worked on that you've really loved? And in those projects, did you wear many hats? Did you work with different people that were cross-functional, or did you really like working with a process and you had a really clear plan and you were working on improving something and clear ROI, clear KPIs, and that was really exciting to you too? There's no right answer, but just notice what you feel excited about and maybe lean into that if you're more interested in that, or try something new if you're curious about trying something new. Our last question comes from someone who's debating joining a well-known company versus a not as well-known company.
Hey Exponent, I am torn between two job offers. One is for a role I really want at a relatively unknown company, and the other is for a role that is not exactly what I want, but is at a well established company that could look great for my resume. Which path makes the most sense?
So this is a tough one. So you're stuck between, an unknown company that you're really excited about and a known company that you're not so sure about the role. My intuition usually in these cases is that there will be a right answer, or sort of an answer that works best for you, if you get more information. And so I think the idea that, yes, there's this one company that is well known, but I don't really like the role, and then there's this unknown company that I really like the role, but I don't know the company. I would get more information. So what's the concern with the unknown company? That it might not succeed, that might not have the brand or the status, things like that. Well, can we get a little more comfortable by asking the hiring manager about the progress of the company, how it's going to go, how it's going to succeed, all of that kind of stuff. So get more certainty around that. And then with the known company, can you ask a little bit about the role? Can you better understand, is this a role that I'm excited about? Is this a role that I'm not excited about? Is there an opportunity to change or modify or shape the role over time? Basically, what I'm suggesting you do is take both options and try to see if either of them can kind of be morphed into your ideal option. And after you kind of explore and talk to these companies a little bit more, it'll become clear which one maybe has the ability to be shaped into what you're really excited about. Lastly, if you can't shape those roles, I would recommend taking some time to think about what's important to you. Are you interested in brand? Are you interested in the role and what you get to do in the role? And if you had to pick one, if you had to prioritize one, which one would you pick? Um, and so it might come down to that, and it might come down to asking yourself, what do I value? And what previous experiences do I have indicate what I care about and what I personally value? Thanks to everyone for submitting those questions. I hope this was helpful to you. At Exponent, we're here to support you along your career at every step of the way. So please let us know if you have any questions. You can submit them in the comments below, and we'll do our best to answer them or feature them in upcoming videos. And as always, good luck with your next interview.